Brothers, what has become abundantly clear is that conservatives don't know how to deal with Nick Fuentes at all. They implement the same tactics that the left has used and failed with, and they think that no, suddenly it's going to work for me. Here's the reality. Some of what Nick Fuentes says is correct. Some of it is not. So it's not going to work to simply dismiss him out of hand, to say that he's a weird little gay kid, to say that he's a racist. It's not going to work to try to use this sort of appeal to language, this appeal to terms that the left does to try to shut him down. Now, Officer Tatum had a particularly retarded and pathetic tantrum where he didn't like something that Nick Fuentes said, and instead of engage with it, he basically did what the left does and say, well, this guy's a racist weirdo. No. What Nick Fuentes said, and we're going to watch the clip in the video, is something that a lot of people feel but don't know how to articulate. So what you're going to have to do is one of two things. Either you're going to have to find better arguments and a better way to deal with Nick Fuentes, or you're basically going to have to shut the fuck up. It's going to be one of those two things. Because what you're not going to do is you're not going to enter into the conversation and try to shut Nick Fuentes down by using labels. That's not going to work. There's nobody who's going to accept that. Because if it didn't work from the left, who are masters of it, why do you think it's going to work for you? Now, I will give you the context. We will watch the video clip in question that has irritated Officer Tatum and a lot of other people who are conservative. But I want to read what I said here. When will fake conservative content creators and leftists realize that calling people racist doesn't make the criticism, whether you feel it's valid or not, go away? By the way, Nick Fuentes is right in some of what he says, and if you don't address that, you'll lose by default. Now, what Nick Fuentes is talking about in the clip that triggered Officer Tatum here is basically addressing black fatigue, essentially. And the thing is, most content creators will not touch this topic at all, and if they do, they will not be honest about it in any way, shape, matter, or form. In fact, I've been adopting the Asmongold approach of, just coming up with a different word using nevrons because it's less of a headache than dealing with some of the most low IQ people on the planet trying to virtue signal. All of the Karens and the Karentocracy trying to come out and be like, well, I'm actually social. Like, shut the fuck up. No, that doesn't fly with me. It doesn't fly with most people. And it's not even worth it to get into that conversation because there's so many different people that are going to virtue signal and try to go, actually, no, you don't, actually. Go back to Reddit. But anyway, this is what Nick Fuentes had to say that, basically set Officer Tatum into his Winter Soldier moment.
Every single bit justified in being racist. White people are every single bit justified in being racist. Every single bit justified to the extent that that means going out of your way to avoid black people when you see them. Every bit justified. And you want to know why? Because we see what happens. And nobody is under any obligation due to liberal ideology to put themselves in harm's way.
He's right. No, he's right. I know that may be uncomfortable for some people, including Officer Tatum, to hear, but he's correct. So I want you to understand from the perspective of somebody who's white, it's a lose-lose proposition. Because let's say you're, going to a ball game or you're coming from a ball game and it's late at night and you encounter somebody who's black and they mean to do no harm. But you're in a neighborhood where you're not really sure. well, then you're going to be accused of being racist if you cross the street, if you try to avoid them just for your own safety. You don't know the area, you know the crime stats, you're uncomfortable. Well, then you're racist. You're a bad person because you're putting your safety above the feelings of somebody else. If the person does mean to do you harm and engages, well, one of two things can happen. Either you get the shit beat out of you and you get your stuff stolen and you could potentially die, or you beat them up and somebody records it and they put it online and now you're a racist. So what he's saying here is true. That for a lot of people nowadays, it's just the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So, I'm not going to engage with this because I've seen all of the different outcomes and, like Doctor Strange looking at the million different possibilities. The one possibility that seems to be the most beneficial is me just walking away and me avoiding the situation altogether. Now, you can not like that, but that's the reality. We're dealing with reality here. We're not dealing with feelings. We're not dealing with, well, I'm triggered because he used the words in ways that I don't like. Who cares? He's expressing something that people have felt for a while, but haven't been able to articulate, either because they don't have the vocabulary or because they're afraid. They're afraid of articulating this. So, Officer Tatum, by you simply coming out and saying what a racist weirdo, you have undermined yourself in a massive way. You have demonstrated that you don't have the ability to counter or deal with his arguments. So you're going to do what the left does, and you're basically going to pull the ripcord, call him racist, and nope out of there. Well, I mean, it would have been better if you hadn't said anything at all.
If you're a white person and you're going to work or going to the ball game or going to the city at night, you don't want to enter into the terror dome where you're suddenly in a sudden death match. You're like in the gulag in Call of Duty fighting for your life all of a sudden because you got on the wrong train car. Because a car full of black people pulled up on you by the bus stop. You turn and you walk the other way. You avoid their neighborhoods. You avoid going out on Memorial Day or Labor Day weekend at night in certain places. When you see them, you start walking in the other direction. And we are every bit justified because we see what's going on and we don't want to die. It's that simple. That's pattern recognition. That's not racism. That's pattern recognition. That's one. And two, I really hope, because I'm rooting for black people, like I'm rooting for humanity. I'm rooting for everybody to be safe and to be healthy and to be happy. I really hope that somewhere out there, although I'm not optimistic, black people are starting to develop some sense of self-awareness. Where's the shame? Aren't you people ashamed? When I see these clips of the graduation ceremonies where they're twerking on stage and dancing, when I see these videos of the black cheerleaders on the basketball court brawling it out, when I see the Carmelo Anthony, and not only that, but then they raise $500,000 for him and then they get a public defender. When I see that video of a black security guard rifling through the pockets of an unconscious white guy that got his ass kicked, and the list goes on and on and on. You have to ask the black people that are normally so proud, and with the chip on their shoulder, aren't you ashamed? Are you not ashamed when you see these things? Are there any black people that see this and have the slightest lick of self-awareness, of common sense, of decency to say, are you not ashamed to see these scenes play out over and over again? Where's the accountability? And this is where that word fatigue comes in. We're just tired of seeing it. You see these clips and you know.
So watching this clip, you can disagree with him. You can not like the way that he says it. There are many different ways that you could approach this. But one thing that you can't do, or rather, you shouldn't do, Officer Tatum, is try to dismiss him out of hand. Because he does make some valid points that should be engaged with. If you disagree with that, you should engage with it. What you have tried to do here is what Tucker Carlson tried to do, which is to try to undermine him by simply saying that he's a weird, gay, Mexican weirdo. That doesn't work. No matter who it is, it doesn't work. You either have to engage with his ideas and come up with better ideas of your own that are better articulated, or you're going to look like a fool. And I think actually this is the brilliance of Nick Fuentes. I do think he's a retard, but I do also think he's brilliant because he's framing this in a way, whether you think that in his heart he's just this deeply evil racist person, he's framing it in a way that is understandable to most people. Most normal people do not want to encounter a sudden random PvP deathmatch. They don't want to encounter the situation where now they have to start making all of the right decisions, otherwise they could lose their life. What he's saying is something that is objectively true. Now, what you could counter with is, well, this isn't a race thing, this is a class thing. There are many different things that you could pull out to try to make an example if that's what you believe. But you didn't try any of that. You just said, what a racist weirdo. After listening to this, if your approach is, I don't like what he's saying, so I'm going to name call him, you're not somebody who can be taken seriously on any issue. I'm sorry, you just can't. It's a litmus test. Charlie Kirk has failed this litmus test dozens of times. It is a litmus test. And it seems that conservatives, when it comes to Nick Fuentes, always fail. Because he's not right about everything. But it only appears that way because of how desperately you want to demonize him. You don't engage with his ideas. When Charlie Kirk went on screen and he was asked, why don't you engage with Nick Fuentes? And he says, I don't engage in troll. I don't engage with trolls. I don't engage with people who are bad actors. And then he goes, and then guys, by the way, check out my upcoming debate in September with Hassan Piker. I'm sorry, what? Did you not just get done saying that you are not going to be debating people of bad faith, and you're not going to be debating people who are like disingenuous or trolls, and you say you're going to be debating Nick Fuentes? You're not going to be debating Nick Fuentes, but you're going to be debating Hassan Piker, one of the most bad faith, dishonest trolls on the internet, a terrorist supporter. You're going to debate that guy, but not Nick. And I know the reason why, Charlie, by the way. I'm not a fan of Charlie Kirk the way that Nux Taku is. Listen, I'll just be honest. I really like Nux Taku. But when I heard him glazing Charlie Kirk, I groaned. I'm like, oh, really? Ugh. Oy vey, that is so gross. Don't get it on me. I still think that's one of the funniest things that Grok compared Nux Taku to the Happy Merchant meme. Holy shit. Oh, man. But anyway, yeah, I mean, this is such an obvious thing here. That these conservatives don't know how to deal with Nick Fuentes. And what they've been doing has only made him stronger. Because he can come out and say, well, see, my arguments are so persuasive, they're so effective, they're so good, that they can't even compete with me. They gotta malign me the way that the left does, and it makes him stronger. When all you had to do is not be a fucking retard and come out with a cogent argument to counter this. Instead, you call them a weirdo racist, which obviously has not worked.
Every race of person, maybe except for most blacks, white, Chinese, Indian, Hispanic, and even liberals, see these clips and they say, are you surprised? They shake their heads. They say, yep. Usual suspects. They say, yep, that's about right. Are you not ashamed? And when are black people going to turn that around? I'm so sick of, and I think all of society is sick of, hearing about all these excuses. And even the conservative blacks will give them, like Jason Whitlock is a perfect example. When I gave a similar monologue about Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony, Jason Whitlock, who's a black conservative at the Blaze, said that this is a demonic sentiment. He said the problem is a lack of Christianity or something or other. The problem is a lack of accountability. And I think a lot of black people hide behind these various things, whether it's the liberals that say it's slavery and racism, or it's the conservatives, and they blame it on welfare, hip hop, or the Great Society. It starts with you. It starts with every individual black person making choices, like we all do. Who's raising these fucking people? Who's raising these people? It's other black people. It's baby mamas and baby daddies. I mean, who's perpetuating this? And who does it benefit to make these excuses and to say it's everybody else? So I see this stuff and look, yeah, we are going to call it out. We, the Americans, we the white people of America, we the peaceful, law-abiding, tax-paying people of America are saying, hey, blacks, get your shit together. Get your fucking shit together. We are fucking tired of you. We are tired of seeing this stuff. It always seems to be you. Do you know that, and I'm just expressing what is a common sentiment. Do you know that everybody thinks that if we snapped our fingers and you all disappeared tomorrow, everybody thinks our quality of life would go up? Do you realize that? I'm just saying it, everyone's thinking it. When we think of what's wrong with Chicago, it's like utopia. Chicago's like a utopia. Beautiful riverfront, beautiful lakefront, concerts in the park, ball games in the park, beautiful architecture, the best food. You know what the one problem is with Chicago that's driving the businesses out of the Magnificent Mile? You know what the one problem is that's making the public transit unusable? You know what the one problem is that's driving richer residents from the city? It's the crime. It's the chaos. It's the violence. And you know what demographic is almost exclusively responsible for it? It's you. It's black people. Everyone's thinking that. Everyone's fucking sick of it.
So there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot to talk about. Now, if this were an Asmongold stream, he'd talk about, well, it's a socioeconomic thing. It's not about race. I think that everyone has crime. My take on this is I think Nick Fuentes is mostly right. And the reason I think that is because I can read charts and statistics. I can see what's going on. I see the influx of videos, day after day. The story that comes out about Roger Jackson, nearly beating a man to death because, I ain't playing anymore. Like nearly beats a man to death. Basically ends his career because his chat made fun of him. And then his response is, oh, my bad. Yeah. Yeah. I think that there are a lot of people that have fatigue. And I think that part of that comes from people being told that they can't even articulate the problem. If they articulate the problem, whether they're on the left or the right, they're going to be called a racist weirdo. They're going to be called somebody who's bad or evil or wrong or malevolent. And the fact is that that's worked for a very long time, but it's not working anymore. At least not to the extent that it did. Now, of course, it's still not a pleasant thing to have somebody come out and just, call you racist and insult you in that way. But people are at the point where they're like, okay, I don't care. And that's the reality. Conservatives don't know how to deal with Nick Fuentes. Because if they did, they would engage his ideas and they destroy him in a debate. Which, if it was as easy as they seem to think it would be nothing. They just do it and be done with it, but they can't. Charlie Kirk's worst fear is getting in a debate with Nick Fuentes and him losing. Not Nick Fuentes losing, but Charlie Kirk losing. That's his biggest fear. So he calls Nick a troll. He calls Nick a grifter. He calls Nick any name that he has to. Bad faith. Oh, Nick Fuentes is bad faith. He's a troll. He's this. I don't engage with people like that. By the way, in a month, we're going to be doing a debate with Hassan Piker. Anyway. Yeah, I just thought this was interesting. I'm not going to go through the comments because, I don't know what people are going to say, and I don't want to risk my channel being nuked from orbit any more than it's already at risk. But yeah, I wanted to cover this because I do think it's very interesting the way that conservatives are reacting to many different topics. I have to do a video on the flag burning, where conservatives are taking a major L there too. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for supporting the channel, and I'll see you next time.